One day, a cat named Karen got angry seeing a pile of dirty clothes in the house. Exasperated, she said to her husband, James, "You will wash these clothes today." Recognizing his wife's anger, James went to do the laundry. While James was doing the laundry, he was also using Karen's cell phone to pass the time. Suddenly, the phone slipped from his hand and fell into the bucket of soapy water. Alarmed, James quickly took out the phone and ran to clean it, and tried to clean it, but despite his efforts, the phone got irreparably damaged. Karen was still asleep. James saw an opportunity to fix the situation before waking up. He quickly ran to the market and went straight to the mobile phone shop to buy a replacement phone. Meanwhile, Karen wakes up from her nap and saw that James was not at home and wondered where he could go. James was coming home with a new mobile phone and was happy that he managed to replace the broken one without Karen knowing. As he approached the house, he saw Karen standing angrily in the doorway with a stick. James was surprised to see Karen in such a state. Despite his terrible day, Max went back to school the next day, hoping for a better experience. However, William and Joe continued their bullying. They threw glue at Max and pinned him to the wall. Laughing at her plight, they went away once more. Max pushed himself away from the wall with difficulty and ran towards the classroom crying. Max was sitting in the classroom crying and thinking a lot. That night, Max couldn't stop thinking about his tormentors. That suddenly he got an idea. Max quickly got up from his bed and began to think. The next morning, Max arrived at school first. He gathered his classmates and shared his plan. With their help, Max and his classmates armed themselves with tubes of glue and head towards William and Joe. When the two goons came forward, they were surprised to see everyone coming towards them. Both of them started running away from there. Max and his classmates throw glue at them and stick the two bullies to the wall. Max and his classmates laughed at their predicament. The tables had turned, and from that day on, William and Joe learned their lesson. A cat named James and his daughter Olivia were on an exciting cruise. The sun was shining overhead and the sea spread around them. Suddenly, Olivia loses her footing and slips over the ship's railing and into the sea below. James's heart sank as he watched his daughter fall into the sea. He hurried to the railing, his eyes wide with fear and disbelief. His heart raced as he watched her struggle to stay afloat. She could not swim. Suddenly, a white cat on the deck saw the shark and screamed. The shark was cutting through the water and heading straight for Olivia. James grabbed a lifebuoy and without thinking, he jumped into the sea to save his daughter. He reached over to Olivia and placed her inside the lifebuoy. Suddenly, a shark comes out from under the water to eat Olivia. James showed courage and rushed forward and grabbed the shark's mouth. And pushing Olivia away, he told Olivia to swim to the rescue team, who had seen the commotion and were running to help. What will happen next? Click here to watch. The shark went deeper into the water. The fight between James and the shark was intense. James fought with every ounce of his strength, refusing to let the shark get to his daughter. The shark's jaws were wide as the predator's powerful body thrashed against James's grip. Meanwhile, the rescue team reached Olivia and pulled her out of the water. She was crying uncontrollably, her eyes fixed on the chaotic water. While her father was fighting a shark, Olivia was waiting for her father on the beach. Suddenly, the surface of the water broke and James emerged, gasping for breath. He was holding the lifeless body of a shark in his hand. Olivia felt a wave of joy and relief at seeing her father alive and victorious, and ran to his father. Hugging him tightly, the crowd on the beach burst into applause. In that moment, he was a hero. There was a cat named Karen who loved making vlogs on YouTube. One day, Karen was cooking in the kitchen and recording a vlog with him when her video went viral. Karen's attention shifted away from cooking to her phone screen. Food started burning on the stove. Smoke filled the kitchen. Finally, Karen noticed rising smoke and the smell of burning food. Panic spread as smoke billowed from the kitchen. She managed to escape from the kitchen in time. The house was quickly filling with smoke. Karen immediately dialed the emergency number. Within minutes, the rescue team arrived with sirens blaring to put out the fire. James, Karen's husband, was happily returning home from work, oblivious to the chaos at home, when he got off the bus at a stop near their house. Turning the corner, James was surprised to find his house surrounded by firefighters. He notices Karen still holding her phone, apparently recording everything. James could not control his anger. He starts yelling at Karen, demanding to know that she is blogging instead of focusing on their safety.
Tell us in the comments if James did well to fight with Karen.
Karen Chubby Cat was walking down the street when she saw a clothing store. She decided to go inside the shop to buy some clothes. As Karen entered the shop, Linda, who works in the store, greets Karen warmly and asks, "How can I help you?" Karen sees a beautiful dress and decides she wants to buy it. She put the dress on to check the fit, but it was too tight because of his obesity. Linda couldn't stop laughing when she saw Karen in the dress and started giggling loudly. Embarrassed and disappointed, Karen left the store in tears, and she quickly reached her home. James is surprised to see Karen crying crying and asks Karen what happened. She tearfully told her husband James the whole story. After knowing the whole situation, James started to laugh loudly. This infuriates Karen even more, and in her anger, Karen grabs a stick to teach her a lesson. Richard was a diligent student who got ready for school early in the morning. Susan would quickly prepare her son's favorite meal early in the morning. As soon as Richard came down from his room, Susan would lovingly stand at the door with food. She would send him off to school with a sweet smile. Richard waited patiently for the school bus like every day. During the ride, Richard was very happy because today was a test at school that Richard had prepared for. As soon as he reached school, he went to his class where the exam was about to start. During the exam, Richard concentrated and answered each question to the best of his ability. Miss Linda tells the class about the test results that Richard passed. At lunchtime, he goes to the canteen with packed food from home. While Richard was enjoying his meal in the canteen, his classmates started laughing and teasing him about his food. Disturbed by their words, he ran towards his classroom crying. He sat in class and cried a lot. Miss Linda is very surprised to see Richard. Miss Linda called Richard's mother Susan and told her the whole story. Shocked and distraught, Susan immediately ran to the school. "You tell us what happened next." James' chubby cat was in a very bad condition. Karen, James's wife, suddenly entered the room and was very upset to see James's bad condition. He opened the fridge to find something to feed James, but it was completely empty. In a hurry, she ran to the market for food and bought a lot of fruits and returned home. Karen prepares orange juice for James and adds a little sugar to sweeten it. As soon as Jose got ready, she led him into the living room and surprised James. James took the first sip gratefully. However, as soon as he tasted it, he immediately put down the juice and began shouting loudly, "This is not juice, this is poison!" Karen had no idea what James was talking about. Confused and worried, Karen thought for a while. In trouble, Karen quickly ran to the kitchen. She was surprised to see that in her haste, she had mistakenly added salt to the juice instead of sugar.
Stephen went to the market to buy eggs, and one of the egg was moving, and he decided to take it home. That night he sleeps with the egg. As Stephen sleeps, something magical happens. A small chick hatched from the egg. Stephen was so happy, he decided to name the chick Mark. From that day on, Stephen and Mark became inseparable. They played together and were very happy with each other. Even in cooking, they would help each other. Stephen would meet Mark before going to school, and then he would go to school. As soon as school ended, Mark would often stand at the school gate and wait for his friend. One day when Stephen came home from school, he was very hungry. He saw his mother busy in the kitchen. The aroma of freshly cooked food filled the air. His mother placed the food in front of him. The dish looked like chicken. Seeing the dish, Stephen's heart sank. He was thinking that his mother had cooked Mark. His heart broke and tears came to his eyes. However, just then, Stephen heard a familiar chatter from the other room. He quickly went over to see Mark and hugged him. Relief flooded over Stephen as he realized his friend was still with him.